My coverage of Computex 2017 is brought to you by MSI, EVGA, Tesoro, G-Skill, and Cooler Master.
Guys, I'm over at Phanteks now. They have a newer version of their Enthoo Pro M case, some water cooling stuff, as well as the Shift X, the final version. Let's start over here with the Enthoo Pro M, which you maybe have seen before, but this one has been upgraded in order to make it a special edition. So first off, right at the front, at the top, you might notice a bit of RGB accents on here. That hasn't existed on the Enthoo Pro M before, neither the original version nor the tempered glass version that's right here. So they basically have added a RGB controller. It's the same one that you might find on the Enthoo Evolv, for example. So it allows you to manually select different RGB colors. Or of course you can tie it in with the motherboard, and it already works with the Asus Aura as well as I believe MSI Mystic Light, and you can automatically connect it to a motherboard to control all of the LEDs in the case. Now inside the case you might also notice some white accents, which gives it a distinct look, and that's what makes it a special edition. So if you guys are looking for a two-tone black and white version of the Enthoo Pro M with some RGB connectivity, well, there it is. Now inside here you're going to see a lot of Phanteks' water cooling stuff. A lot of the tubing and fittings and stuff that they have just been working on, they've told us that this is just finally shipped into the US, and you might be able to find these fittings at performance PCs or directly from the Phanteks website. Also over there on the right, they have a new reservoir/pump, and I'll show you guys more on that in just a second. But before we get into that, let's take a look at these. These are called the Halos. We got the Halos Standard on the left, the Halos Lux on the right. These are not fans. They're fans, well, they are fans, but they're fans brackets. This is what I'm trying to say. Okay, so you got a bracket like this. They have these available in a plastic finish on the left, as well as this aluminum finish on the right. They're going to be about 10 bucks for the ones on the left, and they're going to be about $17 or $21 for these over here, depending on the size that you get if you want the metal frame. But it's just a frame that can go over any fan, and they have examples here with black fans on the top, white fans on the bottom. Has an array of LEDs around the outside that shoots across the fan. So if you have like a high performance fan that you've always wanted to add RGB to, or lighting to, then you can do that. And these just have the standard 4-pin RGB connector that all of Phanteks RGB strips and everything connect up with. And a pretty cool option to drop onto something like, say, I'm going to say a Noctua industrial fan would be a great option for something like that. Here's the Glacier Series R160. This is that combination reservoir and pump, or optional pump thing that I was just telling you guys about. Basically, it's an acrylic milled reservoir, and then it's got a space on the bottom where you can drop in pretty much a standard DDC pump like this one right here. On the back of it, you also have a heat sink. That's actually aluminum, and they've got a nickel-plated copper plate in between to make sure the aluminum doesn't contaminate any of the fluid in your loop. It also comes with a bracket. You can affix that to any 120 millimeter or 140 millimeter fan mount on your case, and then you can position this pump reservoir in a lot of different configurations. So pretty good option there. Now, if you guys watched my CES coverage this year, I already showed you quite a few of the Glacier series of GPU blocks that Phanteks is making. They come in a nickel finish or a sandblasted finish with the black finish right there, sandblasted aluminum, that's what I'm trying to say. They've already got those for the Founders Edition as well as the Asus Strix. They're expanding this line with some MSI and Gigabyte options as well. So it's always nice to have GPU block choices, and especially if you want something from Phanteks, and especially if you have a custom designed GPU from the likes of MSI or Gigabyte, well, you got options for there too. Once again, here's a look at the fittings really quick. These are available in compression as well as, compression fitting as well as hardline tubing. So you can use soft or hard tubing with these. Also finished in black or in silver. And they have a nice finish to them. They're very solid. Again, they got a couple of systems set up here with these. So Phanteks is really kind of fleshing out their entire line of liquid cooling products. They've also added the Glacier C350A right here. This is an AMD version, so AM4 Phanteks. You can now water cool your Ryzen CPU with this, compatible with AM4 socket. Now also, if you watched my CES coverage, we briefly covered Project 217, which are mini ITX chassis concepts from Phanteks. These have now been named. They're called the Shift X. So you got a tall one here in the front, got a shorter one there in the back. The tall one's going to retail for 160 US dollars, 159. I rounded up to 160. And the one in the back is going to be $110 or 109 $4.99 if you want to save a penny or two. Again, these are made for mini ITX builds, so compatible with mini ITX motherboards, of course. But why would you need something this tall if you have a mini ITX board? Well, to water cool. That's why you do that. And right now they have set up with one of the adjustments they made from Project 217, which was to reverse the mounting of the GPU so you could actually see the business end of it, which they have displayed here with one of their water blocks, which looks really nice. Now there's quite a few actually different configurations that you can do with this case. They have one set up right here. I'm probably not going to be able to list all of them for you, but you can, of course, swap out the liquid cooling stuff if you want more space in there. So for drive support, for example, on the taller one here, you can fit 2 SSDs on the front, 2 more down here on a lower bracket, and you can actually do 2 3.5-inch drives up here at the front if you were to, of course, remove the radiator and fans that they have on there right now. So that was another suggestion that they got, that they followed from feedback from CES, was to add some 3.5-inch drive mounts in there just to be able to outfit this with a lot of storage if you wanted to make a NAS out of it or something like that. Now, construction-wise, these are made of aluminum, or aluminium if you want to pronounce it properly, and the taller one has a aluminum top plate as well. You can pop up, and as you can see by the configuration of the motherboard in there, you get all your motherboard I/O right here up top, so very easy to access. There is some front panel plugs, so you don't completely lose out on your front panel connectors, and they're actually tucked around sort of in the back, but the idea is that the business end of the system is going to be right up here on top where you can access it easily. The smaller version, which is just the Shift without the X, has a plastic top piece. That's just to keep the price on it down. And then since you are potentially going to have some dust on here, there is a filter up on top to keep that out of the system. But again, the idea is that you have intakes on the front and the bottom. It's going to be positive pressure inside the case pushing air up, so you shouldn't have too much dust accumulation up on top there. Here's the 3.5-inch mount on the standard Shift. You can drop a 3.5-inch drive in here basically without affecting any of the cooling options in the Shift, and you also have a 2.5-inch mount option there as well if if you prefer an SSD. Finally, here's a couple examples of the Shift X and the Shift in more of a living room environment. So you can put it horizontally like this, and it kind of takes the position like you might have of a speaker bar or something like that, but very clean look and would definitely fit in a living room environment. This one, of course, is going to be made more for enthusiasts, water cooling and that sort of thing, but the standard Shift over here, as we can see, is positioned vertically, and Phanteks wanted to show off that you can actually fit a water-cooled GPU and a water-cooled CPU in here using all-in-one liquid cooling. They have a Corsair H60 or H70 in there, as well as the MSI Seahawk hybrid liquid-cooled graphics card, and they've actually managed to route the radiators for both of them down here to the bottom to match up with the intakes for the case, so you still get that bottom to top natural flow of air for cooling for the Shift. So pretty cool case. I like it. And finally, guys, here's the Eclipse P300. This is sort of the little brother, I guess you might say, to the P400, but it's only going to cost $59.99 or $60 to those of you who like round numbers. Basically, you're going to have RGB control on the top, again, the same one that you might find in the N2 Evolv. That's going to give you a little bit of RGB accent on the button, and then there's a little RGB down here. You also have, of course, a tempered glass side panel. You have a completely painted interior. It does ship with a single 120mm fan in the back, and the base, where the basement is for the power supply, they've actually taken the case and sort of wrapped that up in order to make that shroud for the power supply, which reduces on their cost of production, which is why they're able to sell this case for $60. Very nice looking case for $60, especially with that RGB in there. And then you also have, again, a tempered glass side panel. So a little bit smaller, again, because of that basement down there where the power supply goes, but very interesting design. You do have a couple 3.5-inch drive mounts right up here in the front, and you can access those by popping the front panel off, and then they put a little cable routing area back there so you can route your cables for your SSDs or hard drives back there. This case does come with dust filters. There's one on the front panel that's not here right now because this is just a sample. And there's a dust filter on top as well for the 120mm exhaust. And here in the back you can see, even with a budget case, you got a pretty decent amount of cable management. They put a nice little tucked away routing area there so you can fit most of your large cables. And then again, thanks to the fact that you've got a covered up PSU basement down in the bottom, just tuck away all of the rest of your cables and you're good to go. That is, again, the P300 from Phanteks, and it'll be available When will it be available? When can we buy this? Q3, they're saying. So right in that time frame. Nice budget option. $60. I like it. Good job, Phanteks. Again, keep saying good job, Phanteks. It's okay. So guys, that wraps it up for my coverage here from the Phanteks suite. I got tons more coverage from Computex 2017 coming at you really soon. A final thank you to my sponsors once again, Tesoro, EVGA, MSI, G-Skill, and Cooler Master. Hit the thumbs up button, subscribe, all that good stuff. We'll see you guys soon.